Hello and welcome to YORUBADE, the only channel on YouTube that talks strictly about West African topics related to business and economics. So, as you can see in the title, we have a situation in Ghana. And what I'm going to try to do with this video is be as concise as possible and balanced. And basically just going to just talk about what's going on, how the issue started, and possible solutions that were given out, and also my thoughts in the end. So I'm gonna get right into it. If you are new to the channel, check out my other videos. It's all about commentary on just West African countries, and also how to some business topics that I made videos on. So you could definitely check that out and subscribe if you think this content follows up your river. So I'm gonna get right into it. Um, as I was doing the economic case study of Ghana, I remember I came across some information that was talking about there's so-called slavery happening on Lake Volta. Now, Lake Volta is the largest man-made lake in the world, and it was actually created by Ghana, um, creating a dam so that it can generate some hydroelectric power. And what this dam did was it actually blocked up two of the rivers, and it just flooded the whole area, thus making it the largest man-made lake. So that's so Lake Volta is that lake that the dam Okazuma Dam actually created. And the problem is that there are a lot of cases supposedly by just traffickers, child traffickers, getting children to fish on that lake. And now there's the issue about, okay, well, are these children really being trafficked, or are they just family? Are they with the family members and they're just fishing, learning the trade? So it was a couple of debate on what was going on, but I try to do my best to figure out all angles and um, also come up with something that's reasonable just for myself. Now you could come up with your own conclusions, but I have mines, and I'll explain that in the end. So I'm going to go ahead share my screen. So this is the CNN article that I saw. Let me make sure I can make this a little bit smaller. And as you can see, what's typical is anything that deals with Africa, you have to have uh, black child, young black child on the cover. And I always wonder how they're able to get these pictures and how they're able to get the consent of the parents to have their children, or even just the children themselves, to be blasted to the world. Like, do they even know where they're at, and that their pictures are up here? But anyways, so CNN does an article about one of their reporters going over to Lake Volta to see what was going on, and they saw that there was a lot of children that were being enslaved and being mistreated, not able to go to school, not being fed, or dying on the lake, or drowning in the lake, and there's just so many atrocities that was happening. So they decided to make this article. I'm just going to read a little bit about what's going on, and I just want to point out some points. So there was an attempt. So here's one part. There was an attempt to hide. There was no attempt to hide anything. Right before me were children as young as 5, forced to work up to 18 hours a day with no pay, often little or no food, in dangerous, dirty conditions. The sheer brazenness stunned me. And according to the nonprofit organization Free the Slaves, I'm actually going to get into that organization right after this page. More than one third of the 1,620 households surveyed in and around Lake Volta housed a victim of child trafficking or someone held in slave-like conditions. Yet this is not an ancient entrenched tradition in the place. Lake Volta was only created in 1965, and I'm going to talk about how it was created. Um, so, uh, One thing that really bothers me is once again these pictures of how they take these pictures, and are they really getting consent from the parents to do this? I mean, let me see if I can. Uh, I don't know why it's not. It's supposed to be a reel. Let me try with this again. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, there we go. Like I hate looking at pictures like this where the children look. It just rubs me the wrong way. This is the fish that you're talking about. It looks tilapia. I think is what they're farming, and um, these are the nets, and just taking these pictures. Like I always wonder how are they getting these pictures, and no one is saying anything, and like it's just I don't know. So I'm just trying to pass by, like yeah, especially this picture. Like it's just so someone is in the room, and they're telling the children to look at their camera, and they're probably saying just look really sad or like it's just these pictures look so staged. Not saying that this is a situation where it's not real, but it's like they're being coached on how to look and makes it inauthentic. So anyways, I mean, come on, like it just anyways. So that's what's going on. And humanitarian photographer, oops, go back. Took these pictures here. 20,000. So she said here 20,000 children are working in forced labor, according to the International Labor Organization. Now that I think of, does she mean here in Ghana or there in Ghana? Or is she talking about in the world? I guess it can't be in the world because the number will be higher. But essentially, how I'm reading this is 20,000 children are working in forced labor in Ghana. And meanwhile, according to the nonprofit organization Free the Slaves, more than one third of the 1,620 households surveyed. It's to me, it's just a disparity, too big of a disparity. These children are often brought from all over Ghana and by traffickers. Traffickers cunningly manipulate vulnerable families who cannot adequately feed their children 2 meals a day. They offer false promises of education for a child if the young person would just come to help out at the home of a relative. Other trafficker in another town, once out of the villages, the children are sold, meaning never coming back, meaning the property of the trafficker, which is not accurate. But other traffickers buy the kids from their impoverished parents for a pittance or trade them for a farm animal. Children are prized for their small and nimble fingers, able to untether and mend nets. The kids are often beaten, and the girls are at greater risk of being sexually exploited. In addition to back-breaking labor hauling nets and fish, they are forced to do the most dangerous job: jump overboard into parasite-infested water to free the fishing nets that become entangled in submerged tree branches. The children are not taught how to swim. Too many of them drown. And say, I recall one boy, perhaps 8 years old, whose entire boat. Okay. So one thing about this area, when the rivers flooded, the area had a lot of trees, it was foresty, and when it became flooded, you still had the trees. Of course, they died, but the branches are still there. So when the children are fishing, or when the people are fishing, the nets get caught on a branch. And what they're saying is because children have small fingers, they're able to untangle the nets from the branches. But unfortunately, sometimes the children they don't come back up in time, or they get caught in the entanglement, and they can't leave, or they get stuck, and sometimes they can't swim. So a lot of them, or enough of them, like die or get cuts, and it gets infected because the waters are infested with parasites. It's just a whole slew of problems. So that's what's going on. More pictures of them. And yeah, organization estimates that there are 20,000 children living and working in slavery. 20,000 children living and working in slavery in the Volta region and surrounding fishing communities. It is not acceptable to shut our eyes to ignore this horror. Child forced labor is dangerous. Like how they okay. That's the estimates that they're saying. This is the boy right here. So back to that organization, Free the Slaves. Just a little bit about them. This is their about page, and what they're about is Free the Slaves was born in the early days of the new millennium, dedicated to alerting the world about slavery's global comeback, and to catalyze a resurgence of the abolition movement. So they're just trying to free enslaved people. That's their whole mission. That's their goal. Um, Here's another organization that so when they do free the children, and this is the organization that houses them, teaches them skills. They try to rehabilitate the families and the children. They will educate the children, and they'll also try to help the families that had to go through that or had to, do that arrangement. They'll try to teach them some skills, some vocational skills, so that they can make money in another way, and they won't have to put their children through that again. Because what some of the reports said was that sometimes what tends to happen is the children will come back or they'll rescue the children, but because of the financial situation of that family, they'll send the children back, or they'll get mad at the child saying, "Hey, now I gotta owe this debt," and so that's what they're saying. So this organization tries to train people and help them understand. Okay, there's another way you can make money. Here's some skills. Just try to alleviate that issue. So that's what they're about. And this one is just a success story or happy story. Oh, so Ghana does have a program about that tries to address this situation that's going on around the lake. It's called the Child Protection Compact Partnership. So the government did create some type of organization to address this situation. Is it as prevalent as what CNN is saying? From what I've got from one Ghanaian source, no. And there's also going to be another article that talks about how a lot of it is just overblown and it's inaccurate how they're portraying this whole situation. So, anyways, once again, remember that number 20,000 children. They suspected 20,000 children are being trafficked on Lake Volta. Meanwhile, this organization says at this point in time, 408 children were rescued. If you have 20,000 children that are also so-called slaves, how are only 400 supposedly saved? Or how is it not a bigger deal? Why aren't you hearing about this in Twitter or social media spaces if it's that prevalent? That's why I'm just like, interesting. So anyway, so these are their accomplishments right here, and of course more success stories going on, and these are some more success stories of children that were saved. If you want to look at this is freetheslaves.net. So you can just go to if you're really interested, you can go to their website and you can see what they're doing. All right, so now let's just talk about Lake Volta. I kind of mentioned it, but we use nice website, Britannica. And just read briefly, Lake Volta, the artificial lake in Ghana. The lake is formed by the Okazuma Dam, which began in 1961 and completed in 1965. It dammed the Volta River just south of Agena and created a lake extending upstream from the Okazuma Dam to Yape, beyond the former confluence of the Black Volta and the White Volta rivers. So basically, it just plugged those two rivers. The area that had trees and towns and townships, it all flooded, and then those people had to be relocated. So this created Lake Volta. The dam, Okazuma Dam, created Lake Volta because the rivers flooded, and that's what you have right now. So that's what that is. Take some time. This is actually a page from this journal article which was written in 1966. So when I do research on situations, I don't just like to I don't like to just read web pages because people can write anything. I like to at least read one article from the past, a journal, a book, something where I know more work had to be put into creating that piece and more research. So I saw this and basically I just want to understand, why was the dam created in the first place? What was its purpose? Who funded it? That's a big thing. I want to know who funded it. I want to know all those details. So anyways, I saw this page, and basically, I'll just read a little bit of it. 50 miles from Accra and 30 from the sea, the Volta emerges from a gorge cut through the quartzite and indurated sandstone ridges of the Aquapim Hills. Bauxite, which produces aluminum. So just remember that bauxite, aluminum, same, similar. Associated with the early tertiary erosion surfaces, was first discovered in Ghana in 1914. In the following year, Mr. A. E. Kitson, government geologist, discoverer of the Biram Diamond Field, recommended the Okazuma site for dam construction to provide power to process the bauxite. Remember, aluminum. 50 years later, in 22nd January 1966, the president of Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, officially inaugurated the Volta River project. Basically, the scheme is still to generate hydroelectric power to process Ghana's bauxite. Now, however, the later constitutes merely a primary economic justification for a project whose ramifications will affect every aspect of the country's economic life. So it all started to get power to the mining sector of bauxite to get the aluminum. But now it actually contributes about, I think, about 85% of the country's power, and then they're also able to export some electricity to Togo and Benin. Financial guarantees were not obtained until December 1961. President Kennedy decided to support the Volta River project and the smelter project with loans totaling $62 million, the largest U.S. government investment in Africa. But meanwhile, much had been done. Okay, so that's that. I'm sure I know I have some other pages that have more information on that. So this is the Okazuma Dam. Year was finished 1965. Duration took 4 years, and in today's dollars, it took $2.1 billion. That's a lot of money, especially when you're a new country. This is 1966 or 1965. You got your independence in 1957, so you had to get some funds in order to complete this project. But anyway, so I'm going to read a little bit about what happened. The dam generates hydroelectricity and provides water for irrigating nearby farmland. Solve the problem, supply power to Ghana's aluminum industry, and build a rock-filled dam and power station. Let me see if I could get some quick information. Okay. Funded by the World Bank, the UK, and the United States, which makes sense because Ghana didn't have money like that, especially when they just got their independence. So I'm always curious to know who's funding projects, really, not just in this particular case, but any movement, any business, any project that goes on. You always want to know who's footing the bill, because nothing is free. Because what tends to happen is the person that foots the bill, they usually want something in return for their investment. And that's why it's good to know who funds this stuff, especially well, I'm not going to mention that. But anyway, so that's why I look to see who's actually funding these projects. So the project saw flooding of part of the Volta River Basin and its upstream fields. Around 80,000 people had to be relocated, which was about 1% of the population. People from 700 different villages, many of whom were subsistence farmers, were moved into 52 resettlement villages as part of the scheme. Yeah, so I already read all that. So basically, it resettled a lot of people. Okay, here it goes. Today, the scheme provides 85% of the country's electricity. The project has some negative environmental effects. The Volta Lake is now a habitat for disease-carrying insects such as black flies and mosquitoes. That's never good. Um, Another point of creating this dam for Kwame and Nkrumah. So remember, they just got their independence in 1957, fairly soon. And what Kwame was trying to do was just show the world that, hey, Ghana can build and complete infrastructural projects. It's just to say, hey, we're not just uncivilized people. Just no, we can manage ourselves and we can do good projects. So this was another reason why Kwame was very, very diligent in getting this project going and completed. And it's been very beneficial to the country. I mean, it's 85% of your power. They're getting return on their investment. The Okazuma Dam was built by an engineering firm in Pregillo. They actually changed the name. I'm going to show you who they are. The Italian company had just finished work on the YORUBADE Dam on the Zambezi River between Zambia and Zimbabwe. And I was just curious on that Italian company, and they're actually called We Build now. And they do civil engineering. So yeah, we need more civil engineers. We need a lot more civil engineers. So anyway, so that's that. And one thing that I was surprising to me was when they said a total of 28 workers died over the 5 years of the project's construction. 12 were killed in an explosion on the site in 1966. There's a memorial to all of them in the nearby St. Barbara's Catholic Church in the town of Okazuma. So a lot of times people say, hey, why are the Chinese in these countries, these African countries, doing all this stuff? Why don't you have the Africans doing the completion and stuff like that? The biggest problem is lack of skilled labor. There's a lack of skilled labor in West Africa. The trades they're not at that level. So you bring in the Chinese because they're good at it. They're the manufacturer of the world and they know what they're doing. You have to keep in mind of the safety protocols when it comes to, or the risk that comes in construction, especially large projects like this. It's very dangerous. In this situation, 20 people died, but 12 people were killed in an explosion. And it's just like, this is where you have to think about, okay, well, these governments, they don't want to risk their own population, because if people are dying in these projects that they're implementing, then the people are going to be mad and they're not going to want to work. So the Chinese already know what they're doing, or the Asian company, or these other international companies, they already know what they're doing. That's where they come in. That's where they're able to get the contracts, because they do what they do. They some of them do good work. Not all of them, of course, we hear about them, but some of them actually know what they're doing. So always keep in mind when it comes to construction, it seems like it's simple thing, because at least in the U.S. everything is built to scale. You don't see any issues, but it's dangerous work. It's a lot dangerous work, especially when you have to blow up quarries or just blow up land in order to get what you need. Yeah, very, very dangerous, and you can't have people that don't know what they're doing. So that's that. And I just want to show you what the dam looks like. So town built maybe. Yeah, the primary purpose of the Okazuma Dam was to provide electricity for the aluminum. We talked about that already. And that's the dam right here. There you go. And it talks about the flooding, and so we already talked about this. So far, they needed the dam so that they can get electricity to their bauxite industry or the aluminum industry. When they created the dam, it flooded the rivers. Once it flooded the rivers, it created a lake called Lake Volta. The people that were living in that area, Agena was the town. They had to relocate. About 80,000 people is what they say. The people that was living in, they had to relocate into resettlements. And I'm going to get into the resettlement, and also now we're going to get to, how the slavery came to be and stuff like that. And I'll give my thoughts in the end. So. All right, so Lake Volta was a symbiotic embodiment of progress, modernization, and development, offered the opportunity for newly independent Ghana to develop a complex and integrated industrial base using local resources and materials. While the initial concept was discussed as early as 1924, it was only in the 1950s that the feasibility report was written and work commenced. And these are just some details. So the failures, dam results in the formation of one of the largest man-made lakes. 80,000 people living upstream were forced to leave. The fertile farms, ancestral lands, all of it gone. And Nkrumah said he was going to come up with a program to repair and so the World Food Program came in. It was forced to intervene, people getting the basic needs met, and it didn't just want to hand out supplies, but they wanted to distribute food in exchange for labor. Residents were forced to clear 450,000 acres to make way for the first 18 resettlements. 739 villages were eventually consolidated into 52 townships. That's those living conditions must have been horrible if you're consolidating that much. New Agena was one of the first resettlement villages to replace the former Agena, now submerged by the lake. Sites were selected based on easy accessibility. This is how one of the resettlement villages look like, or how homes look like. And the use of standard components and basic construction results in rapid production rates. Over 200 houses built a week and 11,000 units completed by 1964. The housing type was called a core house, effectively a single room and raised veranda. The idea was for the residents to gradually extend the houses as required according to a prescribed plan and building standard. So they was going to build a house, one bedroom or one room, and they was going to leave it up to the people that just got this place, to extend their home. As like, where are they going to get the money from? That doesn't make any sense. As part of my research, I spoke to some residents who have lived in settlements since the early 1960s. They can remember the developments that have taken place. They can recall some larger families being forced to move from substantial multi-room structures to one simple room, which results in overcrowding and unsanitary conditions. That's exactly what I was thinking. If you have like big families, usually these people, the Ghanaians there, or they have a lot of kids, like 5 children, like average. I think that's what the average is in a lot of these West African countries, like 5 children. But they have multiple children, so multiple people in the house. How's that small play? Like, man, that must have been horrible. And then it just talks about lesson learned. So I think we got enough information on that. This is CNN again. So, okay, so they came back and they tried to describe a day on the lake. And basically it just starts with the boys. So the boys will be on the lake. The women will be, or the girls will be preparing the fish that's caught, and they'll be on shore. So, okay, the boys start early in the morning is what they say. Once again, here goes this 20,000 children thing again. So that's what they do. They reeling in the nets. They start early. Take pictures of, once again, these pictures. This boy on the lake, he hadn't eaten in 24 hours. He was later rescued. Okay. And once again, like, how, I'm just trying to imagine, like, how are they taking these pictures? Like, so are they like on one side of the canoe and saying, okay, I pose like this, and I'm gonna, like, it's just, it looks too coached. Is like, how are you, like, just the angle of it. That's what makes me iffy. But anyways, maybe it's just me. So this is what happens. See the trees and all that. So the net gets caught up. So the boy has to dive deep into the water. So this is infested with parasites and all that other stuff. So to dive into the water to untangle the net. But you see those twigs. Remember, it used to be trees here. So these trees, I mean, the trees are dead, but they still got their branches. And because of the children's smaller fingers, they're able to untangle the net from the branches. That's how they're able to get it loose, and then that's what will happen. So this is just kind of how it looks like, what they're doing, or this is what they're showing. When he says you have to dive, you have no option. The fearful part is that you might not come back up. So they're talking about some people drowning. Okay, these are the nets. Fishing net is laid out to be checked before being taken back to the lake. Okay, and this is what the young girls prepare. This is what the young girls do to prepare the fish for drying, and then they sell it to the market. Each week, hundreds of boats come to the Karachi market where dry fish are sold, often obtained through the work of the slave children. And this is one dude that does search and rescue, and he rescues some children. And he also houses them as well. And this is just their shoes. These are some of the children that are in school right now that his foundation or his organization takes care of. And a little girl pointing at a pineapple. And this is one of the people that pays for the children. So he's talking about how much he pays, 200, 500, what he pays. And then he talked about one of the children dies while working, then he will sit down with the parents and have a talk. So, and why's this boy sitting on her lap? And like the camera's just looking. Man, I don't know what that boy's sitting on her lap. Okay, anyways, so that's that. So now, this is the alternative view, and this is coming from Al Jazeera. And funny enough, Al Jazeera can be a little bit iffy when it comes to African stories, but nonetheless, one of the writers, Betty Mensah, so Ghanaian, and then Samuel Okyere, so Nigerian. I'm guessing Nigerian. So how CNN reported on child slaves who were not really enslaved. Despite what a recent CNN documentary claims, which is the one I just showed you, there's no pervasive child slavery problem in Ghana's Lake Volta region. So they're saying this is all BS. Freeing the child slaves and something that they said. The allegations of child trafficking and child slavery, which are mostly made by Western-based or funded journalists and NGOs with the help of local affiliates, reflect a limited understanding of the lived realities on islands and communities along the lake. Fishing is one of the few guaranteed avenues of subsistence for islanders and residents for riverine communities along the Lake Volta, and children are readily taught fishing skills by their parents. The lake also serves many important functions. Virtually all economic and social activities take place on or around it. It is not only a main source of employment, but also a highway which connects islands, a playground for children, marketplace, etc. It is therefore not unusual to find children fishing, commuting by boat to other islands, or simply playing with their peers and siblings on Lake Volta. Outsiders or those unfamiliar with this fundamental social setup can wrongly translate the sight of a child in a boat with an adult as a child being exploited or forced to work. We acknowledge that not all children on the islands and riverine live or work with their biological parents. However, this is not because of rampant trafficking of children, as CNN and others have suggested. The extended family system is still highly valued in Ghana as it remains integral to the social welfare system. It is therefore entirely normal to find children living with non-biological parents or guardians who can offer them educational apprenticeship and the development opportunities. Additionally, due to experience and knowledge in fishing on the islands and riverine areas of Lake Volta, it is similarly not unusual to find children from coastal and other fishing areas of the country in apprenticeships, tutelage agreements with fishermen who are not their blood relative. A largely ignored aspect of this practice in the CNN and other reporters of this issue is that many children and youth become self-sufficient fishermen in adulthood through these arrangements, and in turn also train other children and youth. For sure, this form of fosterage and tutelage can be fraught with complications, particularly surrounding the mode of remuneration for child apprentices. Okay. So basically, they're just saying all the children that you see on the lake are not slaves. There's apprenticeship, there's agreed upon labor for the children. Now, you can see there's always going to be issues, there's always going to be things happening that the parents are not aware of, or maybe some might be aware of. It's not to say that nothing bad is happening over there, but the way CNN is writing is that any child that you see on the lake in a boat is part of this whole situation of child trafficking. Like, I mean, when they're saying 20,000 children, it's just that's what they're. This article is saying, okay, this is all BS, overblown. They don't understand what's going on, and then their affiliates that are in the country are like, I guess, co-signing, or it can be funny. So anyway, that's what they're trying to say. They're basically saying it's not what you think it is. It's overblown. It was a reason why I brought this up. And why did I bring this up? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, well, I have no idea why I brought this one. Maybe I was just one of the pages I was looking at when I was doing my research. But and I'm going to do a recap. So I did bring this up because if all this is true and all of it is the president knows about everything and it's really slavery or trafficking, then this would definitely look weird. That's the president right here. But I mean, this is 2019 and you have this ongoing issue that's very prevalent, like what CNN is saying. If it's true, then this doesn't look right. But this article, so I read this whole report, and it's almost 100 pages, and I got down to it, and basically it talked about 3 solutions to this situation, and I'm going to give my thoughts after this. But the first one is better access to education for the children. Children should be in schools, and barriers such as the cost of school supplies or lack of schools in remote areas should be removed. Number 2, enforcement of the law, especially arrest and prosecution. And number 3, economic empowerment and monetary assistance. Excuse me. Yeah, no, these laws don't work because we're not rich and we need the children to help. Okay, so let me bring myself fully on screen. So that's what's going on. That's the trafficking and the slavery that CNN was reporting on, and some other institutions reported on it as well. Now, my thoughts on it is it's not as prevalent as what CNN is making it seem. Already from the beginning, when I first was really looking into it, it started looking too much of a pattern of what I see in other African nations, where Western media would come in and they'll blow up a whole situation, make it seem like it's more than it is. They don't, when they report on issues happening in Western countries like the US, they will say, okay, child rights. In the US, you can say the same thing, trafficking. There's a lot of trafficking going on in the US, but they won't call it that. They won't say anything about slavery or trafficking. They'll just say, okay, child rights and stuff like that. That's mainly what you hear. When you go to these African nations, it's the terms switch. And this is nothing new. I'm sure we all are aware of what happens in these type of cases. I'm not saying that nothing like there's no nefarious acts going on. What I'm thinking about is, okay, well, how much of this is really legit, or are they just they go to the lake and they just see children in the boats and okay, it must be all the same thing. When I did talk to someone that is from Ghana, she's Ghanaian, and she told me straight up, like, yeah, very little, but it's not like this whole big thing. Like, whole slavery going on now, and no. And that's kind of my thoughts when I was doing my own research, and that's what I was getting from just really looking into it and just critical thinking and seeing, okay, this seems odd. But I, I think the main thing is this is why I'm such an advocate for good business, strong business, the private sector. There's a huge disparity in Ghana when it comes to the rich and the poor. Even though Ghana's GDP, gross domestic product, is increasing, the distribution of wealth is not good. And there's been protests from the youth saying, "Hey, we don't have enough jobs, we don't have employment, we can't manage ourselves. There's nothing here." This is where private industry comes into play, so that it employs the people there. Now, this is an obvious concept. The the most important thing to that is to have strong businesses that can employ the youth and then grow and expand. And not just the youth, like all levels of the community and the citizens. You need good businesses so that you can have great jobs for people, and eventually leading to benefits, and they can manage themselves, and they won't feel compelled to go and you know lease out their children indentured servitude for years because they need money. No, so I'm just like, look, charity. I don't believe in charity, because charity mostly doesn't help you develop skills. The ones usually what you hear about charity is send money and then that's it. Now, I'm not saying that there's some charities that actually teach skills. That I don't really see as charity. I see it as an investment into the people. But if you're just like remittances that families will send over to their family back home, just give them money. Just giving people money doesn't help them. You're not teaching them how to take care of themselves. And that's why I'm just for it. Look, we need good business. We need a lot of us to create strong enterprises, so that conglomerates, so that it's not just one person led business or two-person led business. No, you need an effective business where it can make an impact in the community. And that's why I try to promote here. That's why I like to talk about economics. I like to talk about business, because it can affect the lives of so many people, so that we don't have to see stories like this. It can't even come close. Or you can have a situation where they're not allowed to, or they can't so easily overblow a situation like this. So I'm always going to be for good business, legit business, especially from the West Africans from within. And I'm trying to do my part to teach what I know, what I learned, so that someone else can take it, run with it, and do something better, and at least start employing some people in this situation. So I just wanted to bring this situation to light. Maybe a lot of you all didn't know about what was going on in Ghana. When you hear about Ghana, you always hear about the year of return, and you hear about them. The what do you call it? Tourism is increasing, and you start business here and there. I think it's important to understand everything that's going on in a country and what you're getting yourself into, so that when you do start a business, you can at least start thinking about your mission statement of, okay, what are you going there to do? I'll tell you a quick story. I remember I was talking to one person. She's Ghanaian, and both her and her sister live here. And I remember I was just talking to her, and she was just talking about, yeah, we're going to start a business in Ghana. And she was saying that, okay. I was like, okay, what's the business? All right, what is it? So like, we're going to start an ice cream shop. And I'm just like, an ice cream shop? So, and the reason why I think like that is that's not helping the country. If you want to do business, like either you're just going to do business or you're actually going to help. An ice cream shop is not going to help. What even made it worse was that I was like, okay, so who's living over there? Oh, none of us live there. She said none of us lives there. My sister and I both live here. Oh, we just gave it to some of our family members, and they should be running it fine. One of the worst things you can do is let family members run a business when they have no track record of having a business. That's how they steal your money. And I mean, these stories are plenty. So I don't know. I'm just, once again, I'm just an advocate for good business. And I don't want to see reports like this. No one does. And in order to fix that, investment, we have to come up with solutions rather than complain and rather react to it. Okay, what are the solutions and how can we prevent this? So I appreciate you listening to this video, and definitely subscribe to my channel if you like the content and you like what I'm bringing with this channel. Definitely can use your help in growing so that more eyeballs can be on this, and then we could really get the conversation moving and start increasing the knowledge in the West African diaspora as far as like how we can grow and how we can tackle our own issues on our own, and of course, partner with other people that also want to help genuinely. So look out for my next video, and yeah, catch you next time.